Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Asher Marketing Podcast. This podcast is brought to you by Asher Agency, a full-service marketing agency with offices in Indiana, West Virginia, and Washington, D.C. For nearly 50 years, Asher has helped our clients tell their stories, reach customers and prospects, and stand out from the crowd. To learn more about how we can help your company, visit asheragency.com or contact us at hello@asheragency.com. My guest is Chris Lambert. Chris, thanks for doing this.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
You're one of those people I've known for a long time, and I don't quite remember how we met, but I'm guessing it was through Maggie, because Maggie worked at Asher.
That's correct.
And you and I have stayed in touch in a couple of different ways, one being Purdue Fort Wayne men's basketball, which we'll talk about.
Okay.
But I just think I know you from around, from knowing some of the same people.
That could be. I'm sure our paths have crossed in different events, different charities and things like that. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's truly a pleasure to sit down with you. I know we talk every now and then, but I'm really looking forward to hearing your story in your own words. So thanks for doing this.
It's my pleasure.
So let's start at the beginning. What were you thinking about career-wise as a young lad, and where did that take you, and why did you end up in the wonderful world of retail?
Well, to start in the beginning, I worked part-time in a men's clothing store.
Yeah.
For your older listeners, it was a chain called Redwood and Ross.
Okay.
Midwest-based chain out of Kalamazoo, Michigan.
Okay.
I was working part-time for my father, because at one time my father, my mother, and my brother all were working for that company.
Okay.
I was working part-time in Milwaukee.
Yep.
And just kind of figuring out what I wanted to do.
Mm-hmm.
And then, well, life threw me kind of a curveball.
Mm-hmm.
My girlfriend, who has now been my wife for 41 years, called and said, "Hey, I'm pregnant." that made me time to make some decisions.
Makes you grow up real fast.
Makes you go real fast. So I was working part-time in the clothing industry.
Yeah.
And I liked it. And there was a lot of weird karma going on.
Mm-hmm.
A manager in a store in Madison, Wisconsin, abruptly had quit. Mm-hmm. The assistant manager had to become the manager, and they needed an assistant manager. Mm-hmm. So I went and interviewed for the job and got the job.
Yeah.
And that's how I started in the clothing business.
Okay. So
I'd be lying to say it was a dream of mine.
Yeah.
I can tell you that it's been a wonderful experience.
Yeah.
But as you know, we both do mentoring for the college basketball players, and I tell them that there's probably better ways to make life's decisions than the way I did it. I'm very fortunate and happy it turned out the way it did.
Well, let's just say you could have made a lot of worse decisions at that point.
I certainly could have. Yeah, I certainly could have. So it worked out very, fortunately for me. I worked in Wisconsin, and it was I was assistant manager, and the owner of that company's son was my boss.
Okay.
My goal was to get him out of there. Yeah. Because I wanted to become the manager, because it paid all of $18,000 back then. Mm-hmm. So so he went back to the home office to eventually take over the company. I managed the store. And then 7 years later, they said, "Hey, we have a store in Fort Wayne, Indiana. Mm-hmm. Would you be interested?" And I said, "What's a Fort Wayne, Indiana?" Then I did a little research and realized I have an aunt that lives here that I hadn't seen for years. So anyway, we made the change. We moved here, and then that led to a lot of different things with different companies in the same spot. Yeah. But that's what got us to Fort Wayne.
Okay. So you are now the proprietor of Christopher James Menswear.
Oh, it sounds so official when you say it like that.
I know. I'm a very serious person. And that is something that's become synonymous with being sort of the place you go if you want to look good in Fort Wayne and you're a man of means. Is that pretty accurate?
I think so. I think so. And we are, we're not the least expensive store in town.
Sure.
We think we offer the best value for what you get. But I think people would be pleasantly surprised if they have a perception that they can't afford us.
Yeah.
The reason I say that is we've been getting a lot of customers over the last few years from other men's stores that have gone out of business, who I know where they were going was less expensive, but they become customers of ours and have been very happy.
So this is an easy question to ask, but a hard one to answer. How have you navigated all the stuff that's happened in retail? You talk about other stores going out of business. You have COVID. You have changing tastes in what formal wear and menswear is. What are you doing right that's allowing you to thrive?
A lot of alcohol. Let's see. No,
I didn't ask how you get through it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, that said, when you're an individual store, we're one store, right? And we can pivot very, very quickly.
Yeah.
For example, it's like when COVID hit, it was much harder for department stores because they had these huge inventories that they had to, in a lot of cases, they just canceled their orders.
Yeah.
And a lot of the manufacturers were on the hook for those.
Yeah.
But we were able to, call vendors, say, hey, can we take X amount, pay it a little bit later, whatever we needed to do, and we were able to get through that. But it's, I think the real answer to your question is we've been able to find a niche that provide the best customer service that you can get and offer that with a compelling product.
Yeah.
And people will pay for service. I know earlier today, one of our guys in the store was helping someone, and there was a little bit older couple, and they were saying, it's just so nice to have someone here that'll talk to us, and they know what they're talking about. And again, this isn't rocket science, but it's just, it's doing the right thing, treating the customer the way they should be treated, and offering a product that they feel is a value for the price.
Well, and this is probably a cliche to you, but you're not selling the clothes. You're selling either how that person is going to feel about being in them or how they're going to remember this event. And if you always take it back to people, that's a pretty good, if you make it about the people, you're always going to do well.
Yeah.
If you make it about the product, maybe not so well.
We always say that we're in the customer service business. We just happen to sell clothes.
Yeah.
That's what we do.
Yeah.
We've got, I'm very blessed with an incredible team that have been there for a long, long time. And they care about the business as much as I do. The part-timers come in to meet customers on their days off. Yeah. So they're very invested. They're very dedicated, and they do a great job.
Yeah. So I want to lean into a couple things there. One is the advantage. Doesn't sound like an advantage, but the advantage of being smaller and that ability to pivot. When Asher was purchased back by a couple of our employees, we actually leaned into the fact that you can walk upstairs, ask a question, get a decision, and move on. I think that's an advantage. I'm obviously biased. You don't have some of the same pricing advantages, but you're not playing that game.
No, we're not. The reality is in certain brands that are main brands that you may be aware of. Let's say we don't carry, but Tommy Bahama, Peter Millar, Johnny O. Those brand names, they're the same retail price wherever you go, unless the place is having a sale or something like that. But we follow their suggested retails. So again, it is easier when you're smaller. If something doesn't work for us, I can call the company and say, hey, can we, this hasn't clicked. Can we send this back and get something else? Yeah. And we could do this all, decision made within an hour. Yeah. And there's just no layers of not staff, but of leadership to go through.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and you, I know this isn't something you want to do as a full-time job, but if I've heard you correctly in the past, there's even times you'll send a customer somewhere else if you don't have what they need. Yeah. And that's the lifetime value of the customer, right?
Yeah, it's the what was it, Macy's and Gimbel's for Miracle on 34th Street, right? No, there's sometimes that we won't have what they need, or we may be more expensive than what they need, and then we'll recommend where they should go. Yeah. Conversely, we get a lot of great leads from other retailers in town here who will say, hey, we can't do this. Go see Christopher James. So, the whole goal is help the customer. The rest is going to take care of itself.
Yeah. So let's talk a little bit about how you convey your vision of customer service to the people you hire? Because you can't be with every customer all the time. You have other things you need to be doing, but you're going to try really hard to hire people who have that same energy. How do you do that? What do you look for when someone comes to you looking for a job that tells you whether this is going to be a good fit for you or not?
Well, first off, we haven't had to look for anybody in so long because we've had people that have been with us 1.25 years, 30 years, 3 years, 7. I mean, they've just been there a long time. But to answer your question, you're looking for a quality individual with, we can teach them the clothing part. Okay. You want people that are going to care, that have good communication skills.
Yeah.
The best story I tell is, a gentleman that works with us. I met him at a Verizon store. And if you can make going to the phone store a memorable experience.
in a positive way.
In a positive way. I took his card and we didn't have an opening.
Yeah.
And a year later we did.
Yeah.
And I reached out to him and it's been the best thing I ever did.
Yeah.
So you just look for people. As opposed to 20 years ago, I had a gentleman walk in the store and he said, and I quote, "Word on the street is you're looking for a good salesman." And I said, not on the street, but he's, that I'm not looking for a salesman.
Yeah.
I'm looking for someone who can provide excellent customer service and satisfy the customer.
Yeah, and who's interested in why that person is there and interested in helping them get what they need.
That's what it's all about.
Yeah.
And that gets you your repeat customers and the referrals, which we're very fortunate to get a lot of referrals. We don't do a lot but we do, some email marketing.
If you do, I know someone you can talk to.
Yeah, I wish if there's a good place in town, I'd be happy to, but we do, obviously emails and things like that. Sure. And we do, we do happen to have an offer out now for the next month. Spend $500, get $100 off, or 10% off a custom garment. Christopher James Menswear. But so we don't do it because a lot of things we do is word of mouth and just repeat customers.
Yeah. So your business has changed a lot. You don't need me to tell you that in the past 5 or 6 years. What changes have you seen? And feel free to state the obvious. And how have you adapted to that?
So it's been so long since business casual has been a thing, right? That we adapted a long time ago, but we actually sell a lot of suits. We do sell a lot of suits, and they're not for going to work. It used to be a guy would come in and buy 3 or 4 suits for the spring, summer, 3 or 4 suits for the fall, winter for work. Well, we don't get that anymore. It's mostly event driven, weddings, unfortunately funerals. Things like that.
Did you mean weddings, unfortunately, or funerals, unfortunately?
Just depends.
Depends on the wedding.
Depends on the wedding. But
I've had a couple of those myself.
But it's just it's a lot of event driven, and we can satisfy the needs. If we get a funeral, and usually we can knock the alterations out in a day or so, whatever it takes. But so. The business casual, it's just part of what we are. But we find that when it first started, it was a pair of khakis and a polo shirt, right? That was business casual, and it became difficult for some companies to monitor it because then the next person said, "Well, I'll wear a T-shirt." A pair of khakis, and then it could be, well, you can't wear something with any writing on it. Well, the person said, "Well, I can't wear a Ralph Lauren polo." So.
It's hard to police.
It's hard to police. And now there's a better understanding. And we've really embraced the little higher end version of it, finer shirts, finer knitwear, even more casual sport coats that you can wear for that, or you can wear out with denim and things like that.
Yeah.
So, just like the dinosaurs, we had to, if you don't adapt, you're dead. But we've found that every time that we try to go into better goods, it's successful.
Yeah.
People are willing to pay for quality and service.
Yeah. So I'm going to ask you to go to bat for something if you believe it to be true, and I think you do. Why is it still important that men should try to look good? We're in an environment where, and I'm guilty of this myself, it's like, what's comfortable? I'm going on public, but maybe I won't see anyone. Why do you think it's important that people should put in the effort.
Well, if you have a significant other, they will appreciate it.
Let me interject for a second. My wife laughs because a lot of times she'll see me like looking my best, and I put that in quotes for a reason, and she'll be like, "Oh, you're not going to be here today. That's for other people."
How long have you been married?
Long enough to know that that's not a good thing to hear. Yeah.
So, well, first off, again, your significant other, you want to look good for them.
Yeah.
And when it's funny when you mention a wife, I think of the biggest thing we hear from wives are, can you get them in some pants that aren't so baggy in the butt?
Yeah.
Like we sell nice jeans, and they're cut so they're not baggy, and that's one thing we say. So you should do it for others who you're trying to impress. And then you really do feel better if you look good.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to say you have to buy it just from our store, but if you take the time to try to put it together, you will feel better, and you will project, your best inner being.
Yeah, it's a confidence thing.
It is a confidence thing, yeah. And you may think that no one's looking, but you'd be surprised. People do. I'm not saying that they should, but they do judge you by how you dress.
Yeah, we can debate whether or not that's fair, but it is reality.
Yeah,
and there's times when it matters more than most.
A job interview.
Oh, for sure.
A first date. So yes, those things do matter.
Yeah,
we did a Dress for Success seminar in a college once, and this young man said, "Well, if I just want to wear corduroy pants to a job interview, I'm just going to do it." And I said, "Well, go for it. You might not get the job."
Yeah.
But this was back in the day when people always wore suits for job interviews. And I said, if you want to be your own independent self and you think that's appropriate for that position, but like in any job interview, find out what you're interviewing for.
Yeah. And it is possible to be overdressed, right? But what I always tell the students that I teach at Indiana Tech, I say, no one's really going to criticize you if you're a little bit overdressed, but everyone will if you're a little underdressed.
100%.
So when in doubt, go dress up a little bit.
Yeah, dress up a little bit.
You know your audience.
Yeah.
But
You probably will not get in trouble if you wore a nice suit. And do a couple things. Make sure your shoes are polished. Make sure your shirt isn't wrinkly.
Yeah.
Just invest those things so you can put your best foot forward when you're trying to separate yourself from all the other people who are trying to find a job.
For sure. And right now I'm second guessing every sartorial choice that I've made today.
You look great.
Do you ever have a day when Chris Lambert is like, I just want to wear my Sonic the Hedgehog pajamas?
I
hope I don't run into anyone.
I've had those days.
Yeah, for sure.
Like I said, I'm going to work in the back room, or if I'm going to be in the office, so I go, this is real comfortable. And so I've had those bad clothing days too.
So one of the other things consistent with being local and independent is you give back to the community in a number of different ways. And one of the things I know you're passionate about is mentoring some of the young men on the Purdue Fort Wayne men's basketball team. Why is that important to you? How did you get started, and why have you kept doing that?
So I got introduced to Purdue Fort Wayne men's basketball by a gentleman who shops with us, who came in one day, and he brought in the John Kaufman's the head coach. John's predecessor, Tony, he said, I want to buy all these guys suits, shirts, ties, and everything, so they look good. And that's okay. I like those sales. So we did, and then I started going to games, and then this gentleman kind of stepped back a little bit on that because he was doing many other things for him. So then I started, we dress the coaches, give them outfits. We want them representing Fort Wayne when they're traveling, when they're at home, wherever, when they're speaking. And that led to, getting to know Coach John Kaufman and his staff. And Kauf and his staff are everything that you want in college basketball. None of us like all the stuff where kids move and the NIL and all the money, but John Kaufman and his staff deeply care about the kids. Yeah. They really kids come in there as teenagers and leave as young men, and they learn a lot more than just basketball. So anyhow, Coach Kaufman started this mentoring program, which obviously you're a part of, and you get assigned a player. Mm-hmm. And the idea behind that is you meet with them and you talk to them throughout the year, take them out to dinner. Because years ago, if you took a college basketball player out for dinner, that was an NCAA violation.
Yeah.
So this allows you, the kids to have kind of maybe another sounding board. And it works different for every kid's different. I've had the same gym for the last 2 years. He's been great. He's from Wisconsin. I'm from, I grew up in Wisconsin.
Yeah.
So we've
and he's a great kid. He's a lot of fun.
He's the best. He's the best. His family, his girlfriend's just a super young man. And then you also, through a connection, I think, been able to help him get, it looks like he's got his first job going forward after basketball, because he's decided not to go on and play like in Europe or whatnot. So you develop these, it's all relationships, right? You develop these relationships. You care about the young men, you care about the coach and the staff and what they believe in. And it's just a pleasure to be involved with them.
Yeah, I'd second that. And I'd say, the thing that I've noticed is that, and I truly believe this, is that the coaching staff genuinely care as much about the lives of those young men after basketball as they do care about what happens during their time in the program.
Yeah, probably more so.
And I'll say this, I mean this very genuinely. You set a high bar as a mentor. You travel with the team. Any game that I go to, you're there. I don't know if you go to all the games.
Yeah, I'm a season ticket holder, so we're right there on the floor. And it's been nice because I've been able to introduce other people to it. Yeah. I have 4 tickets, so I can give other people have enjoyed doing it. And this continues with what we do with the kids. So because we believe in the program, we also give custom suits, shirts, ties, shoes for the graduates. Yeah. And it's a nice way to, like I said, not all these kids are going to be going on to play basketball. Yeah. We've had it where some of the moms have said, my son never owned a suit. Yeah. This is his first suit. And it's rewarding that they like that. And I've even talked to Coach Kaufman. I said, if this isn't a value for you, if you'd prefer a in-kind donation, to the program, he said, no, we really like this. It's something different. It sets it off, and it's fun when you see these kids come in. Particularly, you've got 6-foot kid and you got a 6'11" kid, and you're trying to fit them, but. I gotta say, I get as much out of it. I probably get more out of it than the kids get from what I put in, what they get from me. Yeah. Well, and there's sometimes the 6'11" kid is wearing a hem length that's right for the 6-footer, because sometimes the floodsies are back. Right? Yes, the youngins like them short. Excuse me. What's interesting is that in our industry, pants are getting a little longer. They're getting a little bigger. Oh, really? Okay. Now, how that translates into what you're going to see in our store and most stores, it's very minimal, very minimal. Yeah. If you look at like the Italian fashion houses, they have, huge legged pants and very long, and that's to the extreme. Yeah. But those extremes are what start to drive the middle of the road thing. So you're seeing pants being opened up a little bit. Coats are always really short. Yeah. And if you watch ESPN, you'll see these guys they're extremely tight. Oh yeah. They're extremely short. Now we still that's how we sell most of our things. Younger guys like them, as we say, closer to the body. Yeah. A little bit shorter. Yeah. But in general, at some point, you're going to see just a little easing of that. Yeah, well, and when you're young, you can get away with that. Yeah, it's funny. I had coats that fit me great, and then for some reason, I got bigger. Now they were shorter and tighter. Yeah, so I became hip. Same problem. Yeah. Well, and interesting. There's a tie between fashion and basketball. I was watching a mini series about the ABA. Do you remember the ABA? Oh, I sure do. And I almost texted Coach Kaufman, and I was like, "Bring back the bib overalls," and but that red, white, and blue basketball. Yeah, that was the day. Yeah, yeah. Well, and it's great to see the young men who are part of the program get that poured into them from people like you, and it's just all the different influences. It's not any one person. It's hearing from different perspectives. No, there's so many mentors involved with all different perspectives. Yeah, and sometimes I think it clicks. Sometimes it doesn't click with the person. I've been fortunate. The young men I've been associated with have been. It's been been very, very good. Yeah.
Well, I'm going to pivot to a few quick hit questions. I don't think you and I can do anything quick hit, so we don't have to stick to that.
No.
But
slow hit.
They're meant to synthesize some of the things we've talked about.
You're good at this.
Well,
these big words.
I've been doing it for like 5 years, so I'm not good at it by now. There's no hope. First quick hit question. What's your best career advice? If you were talking to someone younger, like you are with the men's basketball team, of the things you've learned over the years from not only your own experience, but seeing and working with other successful people, what do you think is your best advice about having a fulfilling and successful career?
Find something that you really, really like, that you're passionate about, and don't worry about the money.
Yeah.
The money will be there at some point. Yeah. And unfortunately, the society we live in today, there's so much instant gratification that we're used to getting everything fast. If you put in your time, work hard, look that guy in the eye, firm handshake, you will set yourself apart. And the monetary rewards will follow. Yeah. But find something you really like, because then it doesn't really become a job. Then you're just doing something you like. And
to build off that, though, you're not going to like it every day.
No.
You're still going to have tough days. It's just that it's stress that you want to work through because you know there's something worthwhile at the end of it.
Yeah.
I tell people all the time, I've loved my work for the last 21 and a half years, but there's one of the 5 days that I'd like to throw back into the water just about every week.
Of course.
But the rest of it makes it worthwhile. So don't expect just because you love it, it's going to be easy. Right. In fact, some of that friction is what makes it worthwhile.
Well said.
Yeah. Okay. Second question, what is a myth or misconception about the work that you do? It could be the world of retail. It could be Christopher James. It could be dealing with people and customer service.
Yeah, a myth. Let's see. Well, I think some people think that we're beyond their price point, and I think they'd be pleasantly surprised. Yeah. I'll admit that we're not the least expensive store, but I think they'd be surprised. They come in, they find out, what our starting point is for certain items. Yeah. The other myth is that we only just do things off the rack. We do a tremendous custom business. We come in, take your measurements, you pick the fabric, you pick the lining. Yeah. We have it made for you. Another, not a myth, but something that people might not know is we do a lot of wedding business in terms of we do rentals, which is a part of it, and we also offer we try to find something, because we're seeing that people are saying, if you rent something and it costs $200, whatever it costs, right? Yeah. And you say, well, then you got to give it back. Yeah. And then what did I get? Well, we found some manufacturers that offer a nice product where you can buy the suit, a shirt, and a tie for, it's a little bit more than renting, but not dramatically more. Yeah. And guys are starting to lean toward that, because then when they ask their buddy to be in the wedding, that guy has a nice black suit or a nice gray suit. Or actually, the company we use, we've got sage green, royal blue, whatever you want. Yeah. And so that's something that people don't know that we do.
Yeah, for sure. Well, and I want to go back to what you said, the first part of it, when you talked about people being maybe a little bit tentative, like maybe I can't afford it. And I want to see if something is true. I think a lot of people are afraid they're going to go in, they're going to not want to buy something, and they're going to offend you if they walk out without buying something.
Never. No. Listen, I would like you to come in, and if we don't have what you want, let us try to help you find where to go for what you want. And if nothing else, I would say that we're probably the most knowledgeable in town, and we can help educate you on what you're looking for and where to go for it. It's okay. Yeah. It's, never feel embarrassed. Are you kidding? And no, it doesn't matter. You don't know. And a lot of people say, it's just a little bit more money than I want to spend. I go, I respect that.
Yeah, for sure.
That for sure. That happens all the time. Yeah. One thing that we do, like to explain to people is, there is something may cost X amount, but if you ever divide up by how many times you wear it, then you start going, well, it was a good investment.
Yeah, I've actually done that math and said, okay, I'm going to bite the bullet because it's not just the one-time price. Yeah, and I'm probably going to wear this longer than something that's cheaper.
And it should last longer. Yeah. Generally, the more it costs, the better it is. Yeah. You get into some brands, you're paying fortunately, we don't really play in this field, but there's some manufacturers you're paying a huge amount just for their name.
Yeah, for sure.
And some designer names are overpriced for what they are. Yeah. But
they can get away with it. So good for them.
You're buying you're buying the name, and they have to pay for all the advertising.
Yeah. All right, I'm going to pivot on the last question. I'm going to ask you something a little different. If a man wanted to get one thing right in his wardrobe, what do you think is the most important thing that you want to nail? Everything else is nice to have, but it's the thing that has the most tailwind, I guess.
Well, it just depends on, if a guy has to dress up, I would say
I'm asking this question for a friend.
Yeah, it really is. Well, I would say a navy blazer.
Okay.
Yeah. That's if you need a coat to dress up. If you buy a nice navy blazer, that's something you can wear with tan pants, gray pants. Jeans. You can wear it with jeans, and that's something that will give you a lot of you get a lot of use out of it.
Okay.
I also say shoes. Mm-hmm. People think that shoes, but if you have a nice pair of shoes that last and they fit well, it's amazing. We had a gentleman in a couple of weeks ago, and he has a very wide foot, and there's not as many manufacturers left that make shoes. And usually you go to a shoe, you get a D or a medium width. Well, we had been in business with a company called Allen Edmonds, which had been around for years, and they sold and they kind of got away from the mission statement they had when they were in independents. Yeah. Well, they figured out, hey, those independent stores buy a lot of shoes. Yeah. So they found our way back to us, and I happened to know the rep, and he made me an offer that couldn't refuse, and he stands behind the product. So now we have access to, like, this guy's a 12 3E. That's a wide foot. Yeah. And we got shoes from the guy. Guys, these fit great. Usually I got to buy shoes that are too big, and I move around to get the width of my foot in them. So it's funny, but if you get something that fits right, how rewarding it can be. Yeah, and you can have it both ways. You can be comfortable and it can look good at the same time. That's what this gentleman found out, and he was a gentleman that didn't really buy better clothes, and unfortunately he needed something for a funeral, and then he started looking for shoes, and then he's like, wow, I didn't know that these things existed. Yeah. Well, and that's why you're there, right? We hope so. Yeah. Well, Chris, this is great. I really appreciate you taking the time to do it and sharing more of your story. This has been a lot of fun. My pleasure. Thanks for having me. And thanks to everyone who took the opportunity to listen to this episode of the Asher Marketing Podcast. We'll be back next time with another great guest, and we hope you'll join us then. The Asher Marketing Podcast is a production of Asher Agency, a full-service agency for franchises and co-ops, colleges and universities, financial service companies, healthcare organizations, and government agencies. We'll be back next time with another great guest, and we hope you'll join us then.